Hey, Grace Life, I want to talk to you for a few minutes today, and it will take a few minutes, so make sure you have the time before you hit play. I want you to listen carefully and prayerfully to what I have to say, and I hope that it's going to be received in the spirit that I intend. Before I say anything, let me just tell you that I'm weary of writing letters and crafting statements like these. These things are obviously a big distraction from important things, but I think these times we are in are important and they have to be addressed. So let's get to it. Our pastors and staff have been hearing from quite a number of you with the same question. The question is, if I want to, can I and my family come to church this Sunday? So let me try to answer that. When all this first began about COVID-19, I asked our Grace Life family to not attend church together because at that time it seemed that not meeting together was the best way to love our neighbor. And so together we supported our president's 2-week plan. Then our governor shut down the state for an additional 4 weeks, and together we supported that too. But when the governor issued the new order last week, my opinion, not necessarily the opinion of you or of Grace Life, my own personal opinion became that this is no longer about me loving my neighbor. When life in the public square has nearly returned to normal, but churchgoers are told that we can't so much as get out of our cars in the church parking lot, that no longer sounds like a public call to all citizens to love our neighbors. Instead, it sounds like, if you're a churchgoer, the government doesn't think you have the same intelligence as a shopper at Walmart to determine on your own if, when, and how you should be a worshiper at your own church. If we could only call the church a retail store, then we could have several hundred people in our building at one time, all day, every day. From the response we're receiving from some Grace Life members, I'm not the only one that sees the offensiveness and what appears on the surface at least, the unconstitutionality of this new order as it relates to churches. And respectfully, there are other Grace Life members who do not hold that opinion. But Grace Life members are now asking if they can sit in the sanctuary while we live stream. Will we allow them to come in the doors of the church? And here's my answer. The church never officially closed. Grace Life is a congregational church, meaning it's governed by the people of the congregation. For us to officially close, the church would have had to come together and make that decision. And we have not come together now for 50 days. Our pastors don't now nor ever had the authority to shut down the church. And we didn't shut it down. We simply asked you to love your neighbor by not meeting publicly. And you've gladly and wisely done that now for 50 days. Now, I personally no longer believe that staying away from gathering safely and cautiously as a church body is the best way for me to love my neighbors. That's why I've made the personal decision that from now on, my family will be with me on Sunday mornings at church. Bringing my family to church with me is my own personal decision. I've not even asked any member of my staff to do that. I certainly have not asked members of the church to come to church. We had some people who chose to come to church yesterday. Saturday night, I was made aware of one family that planned to attend, but that was the only one that I knew of. And that's okay. They don't need my permission. While apparently these families believe they are doing what God would have them to do, you may be in a situation that is entirely different. It still may be the best way for you to love your neighbors or your family or even love yourself by not gathering with other people. In fact, if some of you asked me what you should do, I would tell you that because of your situation, I'd stay home if I were you. Or you may not want to return to church because you would be going against an order from Governor Ivey. It's not my place to tell you what you should do related to that order as it relates to your conscience. I have heard some of your thoughts, and they're valid, and we're free to have our differences. I do pray that when we don't agree on matters like this, we will disagree with love, kindness, compassion, and respect for each other. If the measured restrictions the governor's order contained were equitable, fair, and reasonable, my thoughts may be different than they are today. But I don't find the latest order to meet those standards. In fact, I think this order is clearly out of step with the United States Constitution and the Alabama Religious Freedom Act, also known as Amendment 622 in the state of Alabama Constitution. If you think that clear constitutional freedoms can be taken away from churchgoers while the public square buzzes with activity is okay, then you're free to hold that opinion. I don't. I hold the opinion that Governor Ivey's order is in violation of our laws, and my decision for taking my family to church yesterday is not. So if the most loving, wise, Spirit-led decision for you is to stay home and serve the Lord from where you are and to continue to live stream worship services, it would be wrong for you to do otherwise. If, however, you want to attend church, let me be clear. I have no authority to stop you. The congregation has never given me that authority. Neither has the government. I'm not compelling anyone to come, nor am I restricting anyone from coming who desires to worship God in a safe and a peaceable way. But here's the thing. If you all show up, it will not be possible to practice social distancing. And while you may be weary of social distancing, it is what the general public is being asked to do. We should love our neighbors by doing what they're being asked to do in their lives, in their places of business, and in the public square. So, should you decide to attend church this weekend, for your safety and because we do love our neighbors, we will have a prudent plan in place. We do not ask you to follow the plan because we want to restrict your freedom, but rather we want to guarantee your freedom and guard our witness as followers of Jesus Christ. If public health is a concern, then the people of God should strive to lead the way by both word and deed. I outlined last Wednesday night what our plan was going to be if the governor had eased the restrictions. She didn't, but we still think our plan is a good plan. We're reviewing that plan today to make sure that if people decide to be on this campus Sunday to worship God, that we will have done all that we can do to make their presence here as safe as possible for them and for others. We will release that plan to you Wednesday morning. I can tell you now that part of that plan will involve making a reservation to attend church. Like some of you, that's not what I want to do, but it's what our pastors agree we should do. While personally, I have decided that I can no longer lead my family to obey the governor's order, I still want to honor her as God would have me to. I believe that she truly wants to keep our state safe, and I want to do my part to help her toward that. I just can't agree with how she's going about it. I think she's a noble lady in a position of leadership. But more than that, she's an image bearer of God, and therefore she's worthy of my respect and yours. And let me remind you that others that you may disagree with are image bearers of God too. Honor Him in the way that you treat them. And of course, you're free to disagree with anything that I'm saying. I'm sure many will. I'm just another human being trying to sort all this out like we all are. I'm also a human being that's committed to the United States Constitution and to the form of government in church known as Congregationalism. My thought process here is based on those two things. My entire adult life seems to revolve around those two things: our nation's Constitution and our local church's form of government called Congregationalism. I'm committed to those two things because they recognize the worth and the value of individuals, and they guard citizens and worshipers from tyranny. The U.S. Constitution ensures that one person in civil authority cannot rule over us in government, and the other ensures that one person in religious authority cannot rule over us in a church. I hope I've sufficiently answered the question, Pastor Joel, will you let me come to church Sunday if I show up? Now, you have to answer the question, should I? Should I attend church Sunday? That is not, under these current circumstances, a question that I can answer for you. You have much to think about as you consider that. I ask you to consider that thoroughly. Consider it prayerfully. And no matter what you determine is the best, most prudent, and Spirit of God informed decision, I want you to know that I support you and I love you. And may whatever you do result in God getting glory and you getting joy. God bless you, Grace Life.